Prasanna sir, it is so wonderful to have you on filmshilmy.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations. Sitaare Zameen Par is literally gearing up for release this week, and my goodness, I think we're all very excited. I think as
Thank you so much.
excited as it is, it's also very highly anticipated. So, how would you describe your emotions and your mindscape currently?
All is well, all is well, all is well. So that's a mantra we've been following throughout the film. Whenever we get those goosebumps and those butterflies in the stomach, we say all is well. So I think, well, the Three Idiots mantra, which I think all of us, love, which is you try to chase excellence and hope that success follows, right? So I think in filmmaking too, it's a very interesting process where there is so much under your control, and yet there is so much that is not under your control. So I think one learns to focus on the stuff which is under your control, and we're very excited to bring the film to the theaters on June 20th. And soaking in all the love, I'm getting a lot of messages from people saying after a long time they're seeing a film that's fun, that's positive, and they feel that Aamir sir uh, you know is coming after a long time, and the Sitaare are shining. So yeah, a lot of love, but also butterflies in the stomach, of course, because that's the charm of cinema.
Right. No, absolutely. I think, look, this film really, I think like what Amir sir has been saying as well, like अगर तारे ज़मीन पर आपको रुलाती है तो फिर ये film आपको हंसाती है. This film is obviously a lot more on the comedic side. It's kind of in a way a slice of life sort of a style of a movie where obviously it talks about and really normalizes the discussion on neurodivergence. For you, I think whilst making the film, to have that middle ground as a humanist lens and not necessarily delving into the subject as a specialist one, how important was that approach for you as a filmmaker?
Well, that was the only approach I had, because I myself am not an expert on this at all. And I think the point of view of this movie is, uh, through the character of Gulshan, who is an average Joe who is rude, who's sensitive, who's insensitive, and who's not very aware of the verbiage, the correct words to use. But he's got his heart in his right place, right? So all of us, uh, if we were not taught, if we are not aware, we would not know what that we are hurting people, right? So I think the that particular lens of uh, of an average guy who's looking at the world a certain way is the film, right? That's Gulshan. And for me, as far as I'm concerned, I think I'm always drawn to stories that have a unique world, have a unique, and make us celebrate what it is to be human. And I think there's a certain joy in inclusive, like even in Shubh Mangal Saavdhan, again, it spoke about coming together in love, standing up for love. And here it's about Sabka, apna normal. So I think it is something that attracts us to stories which reaffirm the human spirit.
hmm I think the way you used humor in Shubh Mangal Saavdhan, the 2017 one, I thought was very beautiful. I think
Thank
the
you.
way you kind of balanced the whole social taboo of, because that was what I think it was, erectile dysfunction. I think that was
Yeah,
there in that one as well. So it the way you balanced it with the humor, it wasn't overindulgent to the point where it was dumbing down,
yeah.
or in a way overlooking the social importance or the emotional importance of the subject. So again, for you, balancing act, I mean, just to kind of follow up on my first question again, how does one really strike that balance as a filmmaker, especially in light of, as said, P as well?
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan of PG Woodhouse. I'm a big fan of humor. So PG Woodhouse, for example, has got this amazing way of British humor, which is very uh, it's situational humor, right? It's not slapstick, or it's not something that is if the situation puts characters. It's very character driven. The situation makes things funny, right? So I remember that Woody Allen said that uh, comedy is tragedy plus time.
Hmm.
So I'm a big fan of situational humor, like this movie Pushpak of Kamal sir, right? That
Hmm.
word, the wordless film, no dialogues, but it's so funny and so. So I've always been attracted to, for example, The Office. The US version I really like. Then Monty Python, I'm a huge fan of. So I think this humor that is very situation and character-driven humor, I'm a huge fan of. Like Delhi Belly is again a very, very funny film. So Vicky Donor, Delhi Belly, Piku are all films I really like. So all the humor there comes very organically to the to it's born out of a situation pushing a character into a zone. Like for example, right now Gulshan is pushed to a certain zone of discomfort, and the fact that he has no filters creates a lot of conflict, and from there comes a lot of comedy.
Hmm.
Which is very organic. So then since it is character driven and situation driven, then you don't go overboard.
It's
It's very
interesting.
organic.
It's interesting because I think from the trailer, what we've seen is that there's like a interesting parallel here where you have like strong feminine female characters in Gulshan's
Yeah,
life. Like Gulshan is a
yeah,
very mature character.
yeah,
Like Sir had described, he's someone who basically who has no barriers whatsoever. Like, he's very aggressive. But at the same time, he's got obviously his love interest, which is played Sunita, which is played beautifully by Genelia, and then of course you got Dolly Aluwalia, who's playing
yeah,
his.
yeah,
So he's got these. It's very interesting how he's got these two almost maternal figures in a way, that kind
yeah.
of look out for him. At the
Right.
same time, the irony is he's almost being like a paternal figure for these kids,
Yeah.
who are in the basketball team.
That's
Um,
amazing development. That's
so
amazing development.
so again, I mean, obviously, I'm still yet to watch the film, but obviously, it would be nice to just gauge your insights actually into sort of making those parallels come to life and
Yeah,
how
you're
it
right.
meet. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, without giving much away, but there is that mother, father, and a lot of that in the family and all that, right? So I think all of us have grown up around different energies that come together to form a family, right? So I've always had strong women all around me, and oftentimes a strength in a woman uh, is also stereotyped, right?
Yeah.
The most vulnerable woman can be the most strongest too, which is actually represented by Genelia's character Sunita. So I think we've all grown up with very strong women. Like I have grown up, my grandmother, my mom, my wife, my mother-in-law, my favorite teacher. All of them were females, and I think I've been blessed to that these beautiful ladies loved me, and along the way gave me knocks along the way to make sure I don't stray off the path. So I'm deeply indebted to all the beautiful women in life, and I think that that is a very good observation, that the mother is a very strong influence on him, and so is the wife, and that's actually you see in the film that be a very beautiful presence in the film.
Mm. Now, my mom has actually worked with children who are Down syndrome and who do have special needs, and I know for sure that it's there's a it's a very it's difficult because not because of their abilities, but it's just because for us we want to understand where they're coming from. We want to understand and make them feel included. And I think inclusion is something which I've understood from a very close lens because I know what it's like. She's worked also with people who have been hard, like kids who have been hard of hearing. And I think that's why this subject really strikes a chord with me personally because I've
Yeah,
heard experiences and it's amazing the amount of intellect that we see with kids who might like when we say the word normal, right? I'm not able to articulate it in words, but I think you know what I'm trying to say here is that there is a certain language, there is a certain level
yeah,
of intellect that even people who are so-called normal do not have. Um,
absolutely.
and I would love to know, how important is it to kind of use inclusion as a way which is not necessarily being a hue and cry about inclusion, if
I
that
know what
makes,
you mean.
yeah,
I know what you mean. See, I think it's easier to tokenize everything these days, to kind of make everything into a hashtag, everything into a trend, but life doesn't give you those. Life is under the radar. It doesn't work in reels and hashtags and trends. Life is not captured in that. It's real. So I think a lot of tokenism, a lot of trends will come and go. But what I think really matters is, let's say, the inclusivity of our grandmothers, for example, or our mothers, right? Where I myself come from a family that is considered upper class or upper caste or whatever, right, in South. But my grandmother always taught me that all of us are united, all of us are one. We're all one soul. We're all people who are, there is nobody above you or nobody below you. You know,
Hmm.
God is one. So these are very homegrown uh, uh, truths of life, and it as far as I'm concerned, my grandmother is more educated than any educated person in the world because she knew what is it to live life. You know, she may not have gone to a proper school, but so I think as in India, especially, we're used to there being a certain sense of a very grounded wisdom in all of us, right? Maybe
Hmm.
not in us, this generation, but certainly in the older generation, in some angels who lived, you know, that they would suddenly impart. Like you go on a train journey, you see this old guy suddenly he gives you some nugget of wisdom and then he disappears. You almost wonder if he's a fakir or someone, you know. It
Yeah.
happens always, right?
Yeah. This has
So
happened so much.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I think in India, especially in India, we have people who live very close to nature, right? So I think
Hmm.
nature has its rhythm. So I think this inclusivity, it comes from nature. Like, like, like it is not something that has to be, it should come from the heart, you know. So once it comes from the heart, then I will figure out the syntax and the grammar and the vocabulary.
Hmm.
But if it is not from the heart, however rich my vocabulary is, it will just be lip service.
Hmm.
So I think once it comes from the heart, I could pronounce your name wrong, right? But if you know I'm giving you love, you'll still accept it.
Hmm. I think another fascinating aspect about that is Sitare as well is that the first obviously Taare Zameen Par kind of focus on paintings. It was about art and where autis dyslexic children or any children with special needs, they were basically trying to find their way through the creative medium. But here it's sports. You've chosen sports and basketball as a medium. What was it about that sport in particular? And it's good to know that you've not done another cricket or a football film because I feel like we've had so many of those. So what was it about basketball that still remained untapped for you in terms of storytelling?
Well, I think it's precisely that I myself have not played basketball, but I know the kids have. My kids have started playing basketball. Basketball is something that I see a lot of kids playing today in cities, and I think there's a certain freshness that, therefore, a certain uh, visual uh, variety, newness which will come into the film, right? Because it's not a game that's overexposed, right? That's number one. But above all, I think the basketball when you see in the movie, there is so much about the narrative that is so tied into this sport
Hmm.
that you will once you see the movie, and hopefully we'll have a deep dive conversation after that too. You will see so much of the narrative is tied into the game. So why basketball? Why special needs uh, people can take to basketball? You know why is Gulshan a Tingu in the world of basketball? All of these questions will hopefully find answers and will be interesting answers for you in the movie.
Hmm.
But it is suffice to say that it's all tied in. There's a reason for basketball,
Hmm.
which is very organic to the story. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not a calculated. It's very organic.
Hmm. Now, I think what's also very fascinating is that a lot of people are now questioning what we deem as mainstream or what we deem as commercial. I mean, when it's subjects like this, I mean, we've seen independent films like Ahan, which have spoken
Yeah,
about a Down syndrome a young man, trying to find his way through loneliness and make an unlikely friend. So, we've seen films like that. I mean, obviously back in the day we had Sadma, which was again, you know,
yeah,
which again was a very light take on these things.
masterpiece. Yeah.
Yes, really great films. And I think now when we sort of sit back, I think people are now thinking, how does like filmmakers, especially in post-pandemic climate, kind of feel about being brave and audacious in taking up subjects which may not necessarily be deemed by the ecosystem or by the mainstream as commercial, and how does it bother you, or if at all, when you are making a film that is so sincere, like Sitaare Zameen Par?
See, I think Anuj, I've always, belonged to the school of cinema in which Aamir sir is the principal, you know, which is movies from the heart to the heart, right? I've always been attracted to those offbeat films which are risky on paper, but your heart tells you that, it will connect. Because let's say a movie like Life is Beautiful.
Mm,
People are shocked when they said it's a comedy about the Holocaust. But when you kind of condense a movie experience in one line, there's so much lost in translation. You know, uh, so I think Lagan, for example, a
mm,
village decides to beat Britishers in a game that they don't even know anything of. Sounds unbelievable, but it's the 3.5 hour narration that makes you not only believe in this, but makes you enjoy this beautiful ride, right? So I think I've always belonged to that school of cinema. Also, that school has another principal too called Kamal Haasan,
of
which
course.
and that's where I come from. So always I felt Kamal sir and Aamir sir are, almost like elder and younger brother, because when I saw Lagan, and that's how a lot of Chennai guys call Aamir sir, and a lot of guys here call Kamal sir. They say that Aamir is the Kamal of here, and they say that, yeah, because if you see, especially that era of cinema of Kamal sir from 90s to, I think, for a long time, he was doing Appuraja, he was
Oh,
doing Nayakan, he was doing Pushpak, he was doing just crazy stuff, man. Just amazing quality work in the mainstream, like Amir sir,
mm,
So I think, me being a fan of both, uh, for me, I would love to make films from my heart, and I think that's what makes me comfortable. It's not really, I don't sit and think like what is the trend and what is not the trend. I observe the world around me like any person, an artist does. I talk to a lot of people, and that's where I get a lot of my from real people, right?
mm,
Not from the experts, because experts are still guesstimating and they're trying to they're just modeling the world. It's a guesstimate of the real world. Sometimes I
mm,
feel, Anuj, that a little data is very dangerous
mm,
because it gives you a false sense of surety where none exists. I would rather go by gut, because a little data is dangerous. How do you know if that data represents 1% of my audience, right? And then I'm thinking that that's what the whole world wants. So now I suddenly become very sure, not knowing
mm,
that 99% of the reality is blind. Like social media, for example, does not represent the real world in any serious way. You know,
mm,
there is a
mm,
large amount of the world which happens outside of social media. So if you take it too seriously, well, of course it helps to, get a dipstick kind of a dip test kind of a thing. But if you start taking it as the holy word of God, then you're doomed. Because at least I'm saying, hey, you know what? I don't have any data. I have my gut. So I might be completely wrong. But at least I'm allowing for the fact that I'm going to be wrong, you know. But if you have some data and you're so sure that no, 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 this is what the holy word of God says, you may be completely wrong. So I think, I would love to, you know, make films from the gut and make films from talking to people, real travel. I think there's a whole beautiful world out there, not
mm,
captured by data, numbers, and trends.
mm. That's a very Imtiaz Ali thought, by the way, because Imtiaz has the
Oh,
same process actually, because
wow.
he loves that. And if you watch his films as well, like he has
Yeah,
this whole thing about capturing the real essence of people
correct.
and
He's a
locations.
master. He's a master.
So I think that would be a really dream collab next, and I really hope that
Thank you,
happens.
thank you. I mean, he's amazing. In
Yeah.
fact, my wife is a huge fan of his movie, Jab We Met, and I
Mm.
watched it with her, and it was such a fun movie, so beautifully made and so full of joy.
No, absolutely. But look, I think Sitaare is all heart, and I think seeing a film like this really just makes I just feel so comforted by it. I've seen the trailer so many times on my phone, I've seen it on the iPad. When I sat there on the big screen and I watched it, I was like, you know what? This feels lovely. It just feels so good to watch something that's just kind and good
Thank
and
you.
really well-hearted. And I'm really excited to watch the film. I'm still yet to obviously, I still need to watch the movie, of course, but
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
really excited. I'm definitely very looking forward to it. And I think
Thank
you
you.
can definitely feel that passion coming through, especially for your responses. So
Thank you,
looking
Anuj.
forward.
I love the article that you wrote and you shared. It's
Uh,
very beautiful. Yeah,
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. No, I think it's good. You know that word normal, I think it really out puts it out there and says what exactly is normal.
yeah,
We've
yeah, yeah.
conversations about that. And a few films I think might have addressed it, but here it's like saying, no, no, no. We need to literally heads on address what normal actually means. Does it mean anything at all, you know?
Yeah, and also I think we live in times where, social media seems to make everything into extremes and everything into conflict. When the
Mm.
real world, when you actually switch off your phone and walk out and you meet people, you realize that everyone has a different perspective, and not everything that is different from you is not evil.
Hmm.
There might be something so different from you that are beautiful, right? So one allows for that to happen when you travel, when you meet new friends, new energies, right? So I think sabka apna apna normal comes from that we all, I have my normal and you have yours, and why can't we come together and embrace that, and come together in love and laughter and happiness, and have a great time. That's where the thought comes from.
Clincher comes. No, but wishing you all the very best, Prasanna. I think we do
Thank you.
have to wrap up now, but it's been so wonderful. I think this is a conversation I think that was definitely very satisfying for me as well as a journalist. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing the film, and I'll definitely connect with
Yes,
you afterwards as well.
my pleasure, and please convey my regards and thank you to your mom.
Yeah, I
I must
will.
say that it's angels like her that are the real deal. And as a filmmaker, I'm just so lucky to have worked with such amazing people, because I don't think ever in my life I will have the selflessness, the care and the empathy that all these educators have. And just being around them makes me feel great.
Oh, bless. No, definitely. I think Mum will be very happy with that message
Please,
when she
please
watches
convey
it.
my love to her. I think it's few people like all of these angels who make the world a beautiful place.
Definitely. No, we'll do. Thank you so much, Prasanna,
Thank
and
you.
wishing you all the very best for the
Thank
film.
you. Thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.
Bye bye.